Kia ora and welcome to the Creative Matters podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with New Zealand artists. I'm your host, Mandy Yarkich. These conversations are intimate, uplifting and insightful. The guests on the show have absolutely enriched my life, and I'm sure their stories will have the same effect on you. Thank you so much for joining me to listen to these amazing people speak about what drives them, the way they work, and their personal takes on life. Tanya Blong was our very first guest on the Creative Matters podcast, and lucky for us, she is back 96 episodes later to talk about her artistic journey since March 2021 and how her practice has developed and evolved. In this episode, we start by talking about the Creative Matters podcast, how it has evolved over the last 2.5 years since I first interviewed Tanya in episode 1, and my goals for the podcast going forward. Tanya then talks about her upcoming solo show, State of Leisure, at Allpress Studio in Tāmaki Makaurau, which opens on November the 2nd and runs until December the 1st. She shares her ideas around leisure and being idle, the inspiration for her titles, how music she's listening to or what she's reading can influence the narratives that develop in her paintings. She describes her approach to colour and the haloing process in her paintings, and how she almost wants to halo the halo. And we discuss ways Tanya has got through creative block over this time and grown the business side of her art practice. Morena, Tanya.
Morena.
How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Really good.
So good to see you. We've had a tour around the garden, and we do like our gardening, often talk plants and gardens.
Swapping bulbs and things. Yes.
Yeah, all that. So it's so lovely to have you back on the podcast. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can't believe that it was nearly 2.5 years ago that you were the first guest ever on the Creative Matters podcast. You took the plunge. We really didn't know what we were doing. And I've got you back for episode 97, which is so exciting.
Yeah, it's been amazing watching your trajectory with the podcast. And I was just saying to you before, it seems like it's been more than 2 years that you've been doing it because it's made such an impact.
That's nice, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a journey, and I started, it was March 2021. And it was one of those things where I was listening to The Jealous Curator, and I really enjoyed her earlier work on her podcast. And I just thought, I'd love to do something like that, but I just thought I can't afford the time, or it's not going to benefit my business. It's a poor business decision. Mm-hmm. And then after a year or two of thinking about it, I just thought, I just want to do it. I'm going to do it. And I started off talking to people or artists who lived at Muriwai who I knew. So you were the first, as I said, and we were friends. So that was kind of easy.
It was fun. It was really fun.
It was really fun. And it's funny now listening back to it in a way. And then just talking to other Muriwai artists who I knew, was mostly women to start with. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to get more comfortable with this. I did lose a few recordings
yes
at the beginning. Took me a little while to get the hang of editing, and then I sort of branched out and talked to a couple of men who I did actually know, and they were beautiful metrosexuals, so it was all good. And then I kind of thought, okay, I actually ran out of guests at Muriwai or artists to speak to, so I thought I need to branch out and hit sort of different artists who I don't know. So it was quite a change going from speaking with often friends to people I've never met before.
Yeah.
That was quite different. But But over time, I did get used to that, and I talked to men as well. Initially, I thought I might just talk to women because I thought it might be easier. But actually, I just love talking to men as well. It's not really,
I
any
think
different.
everyone just loves having an ear to discuss their practice and their artworks. And it's not often that an artist gets that opportunity without someone having a glazed look in their eye.
Yeah. Well, I think artists find it surprising how long they can actually speak about their practice and their world.
They surprise themselves how much they enjoy it.
And podcasting is a different kind of platform. It's quite a nice platform, I think. And a lot of people have said I should be videoing the recordings, but I just don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like the visuals is necessary. I think it's just about the talking.
Yeah, I agree. Unless maybe they're in the studio. But I think there's something about being a listener and listening to someone talk about their practice without the visuals. You digest it in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's nice to actually do stuff that's not about how you look.
Oh, for sure.
You're not thinking about how you look or your side profile or...
Well, I think everyone's worried about what they're going to say. They don't need to worry about that as well.
Exactly, yeah. So I kind of like the platform. And, it's just been the most incredible thing. I think it's one of the best choices I've made in my entire life.
Well, I think, Aotearoa Arts has just benefited so much from it. You've created this amazing archive that is there forever, and it's, sort of a time and place in Aotearoa Arts that, really shows what's happening and the diversity within our practices.
I hope so. And I've kind of surprised myself with, some of the things that I've gained I didn't really expect to, like how much I've learned myself. And also how inspired I felt for my own practice, just from talking to these amazing people. And also the fact that all 96 people I've spoken to have all been so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's an artist thing or a Kiwi thing, maybe a bit of both, but they are all so generous and supportive and amazing. And, doing that once a week, meeting a person like that once a week is just... It's just really kind of, as I've said in the intro, enriched my life.
Yeah. Well, it's a very vulnerable space for both you and the artist to be in. And I think, the artist really appreciates that as well. So, it's almost like a little bit like therapy.
It is. It is a bit like that.
Yeah.
But, just talking through, and the fact that often in life people don't have a chance to really talk through. Nobody speaks for an hour and a half constantly about something.
Something so close to them. Yeah. Something really close to them.
So I feel good about, from my point of view, it's been great for me, but hopefully it's been good for the artists, and then hopefully the listeners have gained something as well.
100%. And where do you see things going in the future?
Well, I feel like it's going to be around for a long time. Like I want to do it for the rest of my life. That's how I feel at the moment. I don't want to stop doing it. And, I have been receiving funding from Creative Communities Scheme, which has been amazing. So I think that helps, and I've enjoyed being able to pay the artist for their time for some episodes. I like to think that it will be able to be used more and more in the future. So for me, it feels like an educational resource, but also an inspirational resource, and it's something that can be used by lots of different groups within the arts, not just artists. I like the idea of secondary art students having access to it somehow. So I'm really trying to figure out how to reach secondary schools, the art departments in secondary schools. I would love to do more of what I'm doing now, of coming back and speaking to people I've spoken to before, maybe in 10 years' time or 5 years' time, see where they've got to. And, Yeah, I think it's just hopefully going to keep growing, and the people that I reach will become more diverse, and reaching across different communities. And yeah, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
I also think, imagine like in 100 years, having this archive and other artists to listen to it. It's, like if we had audio recordings of Bonnard and Matisse and, what they were saying back then about their practice would be so interesting. So, imagine in the future when people are making works out of moon dust or something, looking back at, Aotearoa's contemporary artists and, getting a great insight.
Yeah, hopefully. I think I would like to actually talk to libraries or Auckland Art Gallery Library, something like that. Sort of how can we make sure that this resource is retained somewhere?
Yeah.
Although that's the great thing about podcasts. I mean, it can go on forever and ever, and people can keep dipping back into episodes.
Yeah.
It's not something that is there and then disappears. So that's kind of good. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
So let's start talking about you, Tanya Blong.
Okay.
Can you talk us through from the time that we last spoke in 2021, March? Can you talk us through where you went from there in your art practice?
2021, I was I think I had just finished doing studies at Brown School of Art under Deborah Crow. I'd sort of got to the point in my practice where I wasn't really sure where to go next. I'd had a very successful body of work, and it was quite encompassing, and sort of the direction after that was quite hard where to go. And so under Deborah Crow, who had this amazing course called Bridge that was sort of like a pracademic course, so mixing the academic and the practical together and researching further your ideas. And for me, that really just padded out my practice and developed the ideas behind the work. So with that was sort of like a year and a half that I worked with her and my esteemed colleagues who were just amazing. They were fantastic in helping that path. From there, then, I sort of ran away with that and furthered my ideas around being leisureful and sort of the history of leisure and being in a state of leisure and idle. So then I got to another point where I really needed to sort of think career-wise and where I was going with that and what I wanted from that. And so that's when I joined Toipoto, which has been an amazing resource and program that is run in Tāmaki Makaurau. And under the mentorship of Dina Jezik.
Yes, Stitch.
Oh, sorry, Dina. She was just the most amazing cheerleader and made you sort of believe and give you the resources to believe that you could, sort of follow the path you wanted.
And why were you wanting to do these courses, do you think?
I had worked solo for many years, ever since I'd been an artist, and not really had any support in terms of fellow artists, deep conversations or mentorship. And once I sort of went to Bridge, I realised how incredibly important it is to have that support, and especially that discussion with fellow peers and. Yeah, just the sharing of your practice. It's amazing. They feed you with ideas. They give you feedback about your work. It's just a deeper thinking. And then, with that, I just sort of realized that you definitely, like many other careers have support. These sort of forums where you can gather and garner ideas and be supported. And so, I've just realised that it's essential to have that, and I'll always keep going back and furthering my career or my path in that way.
Were you having any issues with creative block at that point? Was that part of your decision for going to those kind of courses?
Yeah, it really was a creative block in a sense. I felt like, I just sort of become a trap that I had a successful run of work and how do you move away from that when it's your living? That's how you make your income. How do you move away from that but be fulfilled in your practice? And so it was a block, and it was great to work through that and just refresh and repave the way. Yeah, it was
and
fantastic.
I think I remember you having that sort of battle within yourself where you were thinking, this is the work that sells and this is what people are loving, but this is kind of where I'm wanting to go. And then sort of testing the waters, how are people going to receive that slight change, even though the work still seemed very much like Tanya Blong's paintings. But there was a little shift. And then I think that was quite a brave move on your part. And I feel like that was sort of quite an important part of your journey to where you've got to now.
Yeah, I just think, as an artist, you've got to grow, you've got to move and shift. And I remember a client once saying to me, like, oh, you've changed again. You're like Madonna who keeps reinventing herself. And I was quite surprised because I thought, well, yeah, you have to, musicians, writers, filmmakers, they develop all the arts. You develop along the way. It's your path and you're changing as a person. And so that needs to feed into your practice. And it's boring for people to look at as well. They don't want to see the same work.
So what do you say to those people who are wanting the old work?
It's done and dusted. I can't do it anymore. I think there's a time in your life that you have this moment with the work you're creating, and it's for that time. And then you move through it, you process it, and it passes through you, and then you move to the next thing. And it's, you don't want to recreate it again. The magic's gone. You can't do that same magic because those feelings inside you are not there anymore. That connection's gone. Yeah.
So you went from that Bathers series, which was very popular, and that does have a similarity with what you're doing now and that sort of leisure idea.
Yeah.
How did that sort of develop? How did your work develop from there?
Well, I think under Deborah Crow, that was really like therapy. It was really seeing my why. Why do I do this, and where is it coming from, and figuring that out. And a lot of that came back to perhaps freedom and being free within yourself, and how that looks. It was, it's very layered. Everything's so layered. There's, just multitude of avenues within anyone's practice, I think, and it's quite hard to pinpoint. You can have an academic overview of it, but ultimately it comes from an emotional place. And I think, so I figured out my why, and then that was really about sort of, being in a state of leisure and the embodiment of that. But under that umbrella, it really had so many more avenues to mine. So looking at, the luxury of time and who gets to experience having time, the privilege of being leisureful, and then looking at branches under that. So then just even looking at the pool and how there's so many aspects under that, whether it's a private pool, a public pool, a para rubber pool, and the notions that come with each of those. So I guess, I just kept exploring different avenues of being leisureful, and that's sort of how it goes. And I can see so many more prospects going forward with that.
So do you feel like that's helped with your practice and your kind of your trajectory? It's a hard word to say. Do you think having that idea of leisure and that sort of overarching umbrella that's kind of sort of surrounding your work and your practice, do you think that's helped you to really create?
Yeah, because it in a way it gives you perimeters, and I think when you have boundaries, it narrows down. On one level, it narrows down what you're creating, but it also opens up possibilities. And like I say, emotionally, I'm always painting from what needs to come out and what is sort of processed in my day, and that's it's through like music that I listen to, books that I'm reading, ideas that come about, and visions that come to me. And you're always coming from there, but within the perimeter of leisure. So I think those boundaries really help me create, like spread my wings, but also keep it contained. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably good advice, isn't it, to have that, because it's like you're sort of plucking out of thin air when you come to a painting.
Yeah. Well, I find like I remember someone saying to me once that to, really mine all aspects of your practice in the sense of if you're creating a narrative, how does that look from different angles? How does, like visually, how does it look? But then, metaphorically, how does it look? And how do other people experience looking at the work? So I'm really trying to do that. And I think, again, with those perimeters, there's so much scope for it in that practice. Yeah.
And where do you think leisure, or the idea of leisure, came from?
From doing it. No, I think definitely from years of traveling and having that idle moments, where you are in a foreign country and you have no responsibilities, and you're just sitting around with people from all walks of life or by yourself, and you have time to think, you have time to be, we're so focused in society on doing, on being more, on garnering more, and there's not much time for pause. It's a really fast-paced modern society, and the more I'm in that state and the more I'm embodied in it, I see how little time we have to do that. And the more I create works that reflect that, they've sort of become like idols of leisure, that hang on the wall and almost mock me when I'm in a busy state, which is a great reminder to pause. And I don't know, I just feel like society's sort of placed the like success is being busy, success is having wealth and owning things, and I just find that's not where the richness is in life. So, you'll never see a painting of mine that has someone looking at their phone, because I'm more about painting the magic in the everyday of just these pauses in time and place. Yeah.
You live at Muriwai Beach, so, I mean, the tropical kind of feel that is part of your paintings with the foliage and the, plant life, which is often a part of your paintings. Is that inspired by where you live, do you think?
I think initially it wasn't. It's really from being in tropical places, and even though we live in a very subtropical landscape, I think often, when we're visiting tropical places, we're there sort of in a on a surface level, we're not really ingrained in society in the everyday, and it's sort of idyllic. We can leave the life behind, the everyday behind, and we live in this idyllic land. But I find that in that space, it's really interesting because under the surface, there's, quite often a lot of tension or undercurrent. And I don't know, I'm interested about that. Something interests me about that. I think I've spent a lot of time in Brazil, and, there's this amazing beauty and sort of relax on the surface, but, there's obviously an undercurrent as well. Yeah, I think that's where it comes from. But obviously living in Muriwai every day, it's on your retina, and so you're always being fed that look.
Some of your paintings are capturing leisure in a different way. So the works that you're talking about are figurative, and then you do also paint batches.
Yeah, I'm interested in architecture.
Is that do you think part of that leisure idea as well, with the batch idea, or is it slightly away from that?
A lot of it was to do with the fact of home and what home or what house embodies, what it means for different people, and but also looking at, and this is inspired by living here, the foliage in the jungle that we have here and how it's almost eclipsing the houses. And I have always felt quite odd in suburbia with everything being clippered and whippersnippered into place. It seems a bit odd. I think it's that balance of humanity having control over nature and making it conform to our standards when it should always be the other way. Nature should always win. So I think that's where it's coming from. Yeah.
Interesting. So Tanya, can you explain your practice and maybe paint a picture, so to speak, of what your paintings are like for people who've never seen them before?
Sure. So visually, to look at them, they're figurative works. They don't always have figures in them. They are colourful, generally. There's a lot of colour that's contained. There is a stillness to them, and there's an emotive quality, I would think. They range from small to large, and there's a bit of a narrative, I think, sometimes a social commentary. Yeah, it's very hard describing your work, isn't it?
It is hard. I mean, it has that, like we just said, that sort of, that outdoor kind of lush feeling.
Yeah, there's definitely a summary aspect. I haven't painted many winter scenes. Yeah, there's a summary aspect to it, and a lushness, a relaxing feel to them, I think. Yeah. And with that, even painting them is quite interesting. I think with my process, quite often I'll paint an entire painting and then I'll find that I edit and figures get added in or washed out, and a lot of it gets painted over, which has become the process, the necessity. And through that, I think there's this sort of layering of colour, and the more I leave out, the stiller the painting gets, which I find is quite interesting. Yeah. I really enjoy that.
They are very beautiful. I think I own 3 of your paintings and lots of prints. I absolutely love your work, and I think we talked about this in episode 1, that we commissioned you to make a painting for our daughter's 21st, which was 5 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. They're very beautiful, and your use of colour to me is very unique, and I think that's very much a sort of part of your brand, if there's such a thing. So how would you describe your use of colour?
I think it's accidental, for starters. It's not always, it's actually never planned. I used to kind of plan it, but it never really works out. So I start with colour, and then through, like I say, these kind of mistakes or editing that happens, but rather than washing out the colour completely, I'll quite often glaze over it. And so with that glaze, you then, I might sort of create a blue by using a purple and a pink. And then the way that it's sort of layered, it changes the colour, but it adds all this depth to it. And then I really enjoy, for me, when sort of colours are laid down next to each other, I like to get what I call a frequency. And it's like a physical change within my body that reacts to the colour. And I don't know, there's some magic in that. There's some magic in how colour can create a shift within you. So I'm always sort of looking for that. I'm always looking for this physical change where I know that something's clicked into place, and it's almost like a bit of a tension. Yeah. But I don't know, I just think colour has such amazing emotive qualities, and it's just, I don't know, it's so invigorating, just everyday world, being in the world every day and sort of experiencing colour and how it can lift you and change you.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
It can make you feel. And just looking at your paintings, I mean, you also add shapes. within your bodies, for example, or your water or your plants or whatever you're painting, there's lots of other kind of shapes within it that are very unexpected colours. Like, for example, looking at this one, it is a blue figure, well, sort of a turquoisey, bluey green figure, but it has patches of purple and a patch of light pink under the eyes, and sort of skin colour, sort of orangey parts, and then around the eyes there's another colour. And it's actually so interesting to look at, because you almost aren't aware that there's these other colours in there until you really look, because it just feels like it's meant to be, weirdly. But then when you actually look into it, it's you could say it's very abstract, because it's not the actual colours. It's not even necessarily, the shapes aren't necessarily showing where the shadow would be. So how do you work that?
I think what happens is I just create intuitively, and what comes out, and then I edit. And lately in the last few years, I've really noticed this thing where I'll be following the brush, and I know that to create the form, the brush needs to go this way, but it's almost like the brush commands to go another way, and there's no way I cannot follow it. I have to follow that, and I know that it makes the figure a lot more abstract, but the painting commands and demands more than my intuition sort of leads, I think. And through doing that, these spaces are created within the figures. And then again, like a colour might not work, so then I'll glaze over it and leave some behind and add bits to it.
And what do you mean by a glaze?
So just a thin wash that changes the colour beneath and alters different colours, yeah.
Do you use a medium?
Yep, I use a flow medium with that. I paint in acrylics and add that to it. And sometimes it is opaque, sometimes it's not a glaze. But it's just it's just a editing process where other colours are washed over and some are left to come through. Yeah.
And when you're working so organically, what do you think you're actually searching for?
I think I'm trying to not be there as much, actually. Like I don't want to have too much input. I want it to be, like I say, like the painting just commands what needs to be done. And, that's flow state, when you get into that where you're not so conscious of what's happening, but it's just incredibly intuitive, and things just get laid down one after the other without you really putting much input into it. Yeah.
So amazing. And the people in your paintings, what is it about them? Some of them are sort of looking off into the distance, and, do you does a story or a description kind of develop as you're painting, and then they become sort of little personalities, or how do you feel about the actual people?
Good question. I think I'm definitely painting in a landscape rather than an actual figure or a stereotype of a person or anything. It's definitely about the inner being. I think whatever music I'm playing at the time really influences what it is about. And, it's such a subliminal process that it's not really conscious. I'm not really making too much thoughts about that actual figure and what it's representing. But I find, there is kind of like a process where the character is about the music that's playing, the emotive quality, and, that's coupled with whatever I'm reading or whatever sort of has happened at that time. It's really hard to explain. Sometimes I just get moments in life where I'm walking and I'll just stop and I can, pad out this sort of story within a painting, much like if I was a writer or a filmmaker, I think, where, there's a soundtrack, there's characters who believe different things and come from different places, and there's a landscape that goes with that, and it's just a world. Yeah.
Do you find that the characters evolve into something, and by the end you feel like you have an understanding of them more?
Yeah, definitely, actually, definitely. And I love the actual process of making one painting and how I'll start with a simple idea, but the being within that painting by the end is so fleshed out and their own kind of character that it's quite a journey that you go on. And, you know, with this upcoming show, having a whole body of work with all these characters is it's just amazing experience to go on this journey where you start creating something like I started at the start of the year creating these works, and as you go along you know you have an idea, but then it just takes over and that idea sort of gets lost in the process, and then I've just sort of finished most of the works and titled them, and with the titling of them, which is mainly Florence and the Machine's lyrics, she's an amazing lyricist. And with that, it really sort of reveals to me what the work is about, which is always a surprise. And yeah, it's just this kind of amazing backwards journey.
Yeah. And they do feel quite narrative when you look at them.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, I think they're the kind of paintings that the viewer would respond to in a way that they start thinking about their own stories or how they can connect with the paintings.
Fantastic.
Or, you know, what they think is happening, which is quite neat, isn't it?
It's what it's all about. It's not about me or not about my journey with it. It's how, you know, how someone relates and the kind of discussion, inner discussion they have with the work, for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about your process, and then we can talk about your solo show that you have coming up. Mm-hmm. So what do you do, you know, from beginning to end? How do you create a painting?
I think sometimes, you know, like I say, it'll start with an idea, or I'll have a vision, or I'll see something in the everyday that stands out. Often it is started with a pose, a photo, or like I have an amazing kind of infrastructure on Pinterest of reference material. And so I will sketch that very simply, and then I'll stretch my canvas. I'll put a ground down on it, which will be a kind of a thin wash that becomes the underpainting. Then using chalk, I will chalk up the image and sort of figure out the composition. And then I might have sort of some idea of colour-wise then, just as a starting point. And I'll sort of lay it out, and I love that feeling at the start where honestly anything is possible, and it's like a massive hit of dopamine. And then you go on and you get to the sticky bit where everything kind of comes crashing down, and it's like pick a path. Where do I go next? It's you create this maze, you create this problem solving that you then have to figure out how to get out of. And I quite enjoy that process now. And that probably lasts right up close to the end. And then when you get to the end and you can see the vision forward and you're just touching up, and yeah, that's when the real magic starts to happen. And I find like some of the process is leaving, the underpainting coming through, but also doing this thing that I call haloing, which is kind of leaving some of the underpainting coming through behind the plants or the figures, but then with that really sort of replicating that and creating a halo around the whole figure. And I see that as, again, just, like spirit, kind of, whether it's, a plant or a human.
Like an aura.
Yeah, kind of like an aura, I guess. But also using those colours. I think I learned it through, say, when you're painting a face, on the shadow side, you always have a reflective light. And when I learned that, I then started doing that on sort of all the shadow of a body, but using colour. And I loved this sort of vibrancy or energy that was created by doing that. And so then now I kind of halo a lot of things, but then I want to halo the halo. And again, it's just like the paint talking and knowing where it needs to go and just following that. Yeah. And then the titles come, and the titles are often sort of reference to lyrics or passages out of novels. Definitely inspired by literature and prose. I love the way that people put words together. I'm definitely not a wordsmith myself, but I love this magic that people create with words that tell a story, especially creating ambiguity in the work and adding a potential other narrative.
Yeah, totally. I can totally see that. And I mean, you've created this incredible series for your solo show, and that is called State of Leisure. And it's at Allpress Studios, which is in Drake Street in Auckland. So that solo show is November the 2nd. And how long does that go on for?
Opening November the 2nd, 6 to 8 p.m. And the show goes from November the 2nd till December the 1st, so the whole month of November.
Amazing. So let's just talk about the work that you are putting into this show, and then we can talk about having an exhibition like this in a venue like that. I'm very honoured and very lucky to have seen some of the works that are going into your solo show ahead of time, and I am completely in love with them. They are, I mean, I love your work anyway, but this is just like, I feel like it's a whole other level. Really beautiful paintings. Well done.
Thank you. I mouthed that. I don't know why I mouthed that.
Thank you. And yeah, congratulations. I think it's just unbelievable. Are you thinking of this as a series that you're working with quite a few paintings at a time, or how do you approach that?
Well, I think the whole, the work State of Leisure I've been doing for a while, but I've never showcased a whole body of work at one time in one space. And, again, it's like making, I think in an artist's whole lifetime, they create like a novel, and every exhibition is a chapter, every painting is a sentence, maybe a paragraph. So to put them together in one space really creates you're saying a lot more, than just one painting. And it's really nice to have the opportunity to do it. This show's more focusing on the sensory aspect of being at leisure, what happens when we take that pause. I often find myself, and I know many other people do it, when you sit down in the sun and there's an audible sigh that you do. And it's about that. It's about what happens when we slow down. It's what happens when the senses take over. And, often I shut my eyes and let the other senses come to the fore. I try and strengthen them more. So it's really that, and about being connected to nature, knowing the cycles, having this dialogue and this language with nature, being connected to self, being connected to others, and just exploring that, really. Yeah.
It's such a lovely collection. And then, as you say, the way that the works speak to each other just kind of enriches what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's lovely to see it en masse.
It is. It is.
Yeah. It's very exciting.
I like the narrative in it too.
Yeah.
It's, again, it's, quite revealing to myself once you create something, and then thinking about how it's laid out, and another narrative comes with that sort of layout. It sort of begins with a woman basking in the sun, and this happened by pure coincidence. As the works sort of go on, they become more greener and greener, or more turquoise or phthalo green, and perhaps it is more the water entering them more, and nature taking over you more. And I don't know. It's just, that's kind of how it's all going. Yeah.
Beautiful. And you're having that show at Allpress Studio, which is operated by Allpress Espresso. And it's a public gallery which celebrates emerging and established artists and designers in Aotearoa. So you have that space for one whole month and you are curating the show, I presume?
Yes, that's how it works. They just offer such an amazing opportunity for artists to have this beautiful space, huge white walls, situated in their cafe. And yes, I curate it. I run opening night. There'll probably be an artist talk at some stage too. And it's just, they just really advocate for the arts. They support the arts, and they give artists a platform to express and show on. And I just think there needs to be more advocacy for the arts in Aotearoa, especially in not only showing spaces, but just, making it easier for independent artists to be able to show their work. Yeah. So, no, it's an amazing opportunity to be able to do that.
It's very exciting and quite a lot of work, I imagine.
Yeah. It's definitely two brains, the making brain and then the business brain.
And you've got to do all the marketing.
Yeah, and they don't mix. They're two separate. You can't mix them. Yeah.
So how do you manage that?
One's done in the day and one's done at night.
That's quite a good idea, isn't it? That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And why did you decide... Well, firstly, why did you feel like you needed to present a solo show, and why have you chosen this particular venue?
Yeah, I think, again, just the narrative is fleshier when it's shown in a body of work. Who doesn't love white walls? Who doesn't love that big space, to have your work seen and heard? Yeah. And as an independent artist, for me, that is the best platform at the moment to show the work in. It's something I've always been exploring, the whole independent artist versus the galleried artist. I don't know where that's heading in the future. I am with two galleries. I'm with Art for Marakana and Kina Design Art Space in New Plymouth. Dealer-wise, it's something I've been wondering about for a while and where to go with that. To be completely vulnerable and honest though, I don't know if I could afford it. Being independent, I have many avenues to show and present my work and make independent sales. And being with galleries, I think I'd have to have a number of them to be able to support myself, support my family on that income, being a solo parent as well. It's just a reality. And with a dealer gallery, you'd only get that space, every 18 months to 2 years to be able to have a collection of works. So yeah, it's an interesting one, and I'm sure many people have different ideas and opinions about that. But for now, this is where I'm at. Yeah.
Fair enough too. And you've got the Muriwai Arts group show coming up, which is, do a little plug here, October 27th, 28th and 29th. And that's at the Muriwai Surf Club. So, Tanya, we always look forward to seeing your work, and the whole community does.
Muriwai Arts is, an absolutely amazing asset to this community. Many people probably don't know, but there's about 50, 55 artists, probably more now, living in this community. And biannually, these 4 amazing women put on the show and create just an amazing platform for these artists to show their work. So definitely come on out. It is an amazing experience.
Yeah, we'd love to see the listeners out there. The opening night, we'll be having some live music and some food trucks. So it'll be a great night. It always is a great night. Muriwaians love to party.
It's an opening night like no other.
Yes, it certainly is. And then it's open both days of that weekend. And the theme is found, which is quite an interesting theme. And, just with the heartache and the difficult times that our community have been through this year, we we did postpone it slightly, but we feel now it will be nice for our community to have something to come together to. And we also felt that it was great for our local artists to have something to aim for, because a lot of us have been displaced and, it's been, a difficult, challenging time. So I think it's going to be great on many levels.
I know many artists are looking forward to this. There is something about with, being displaced and having your life upset, to have this deadline to work through, just creates productivity and movement and progression. And, the community always needs a gathering.
Now, Tanya, this is very exciting because you were the one quite a long time ago who said you should ask some questions, the same questions at the end. You're a great advocate and for what I do, and you're somebody I can come to, and we often have really big discussions and talks about the art world and art in general, and you're definitely somebody like a confidant to me. I can go and say, what do you think of this, or what did you think of that? And you often give me feedback and promote what I'm doing, or, give me constructive criticism, which I really appreciate because I don't often get it. So you are amazing like that. Thank you.
It's a privilege.
And you did suggest that I had some questions, and you actually said, I'd like to know why people make the kind of work that they make. So that is one of our questions that I have now incorporated. And now I get to ask you those questions. So what would you say to your younger artistic self?
It's funny, I thought about this quite a bit, and I was thinking, I'd say nothing because, we all need these mistakes. And then in the past few weeks, I've just had thing after thing come to me of what I'd done myself. So firstly, I think it would be to find your tribe, definitely to find a support network that you can talk to about your practice, and a network that can mentor you and guide you in your technical creativity, but also your business side of things. Yeah. And the other thing, what was the other thing? The other thing was, to follow your path. Always follow your path. Like, don't be swayed by finances. Don't be swayed by opinion. Just follow what is intrinsic to you.
What is your biggest challenge as an artist?
My biggest challenge, honestly, would be the roller coaster of finances being an artist. I think every artist knows that journey, and I don't have any solution to make it more of an even ride. But I think it'd be wonderful if there was some sort of system where artists had the respect and the support to not always be the one who's paid last. Yeah.
Or not paid at all.
Yeah, not paid at all.
Sadly.
Yeah.
And tell us about the artists who inspire you.
Okay. I think, there's ones that come and go, but there's always the ones that I go back to. So I would have to say Peter Doig. He's Canadian born, lives in Trinidad, Tobago, and for me, it's his paint application. It's the worlds that he creates. He creates worlds that you're transported to. Hervin Anderson, he's Jamaican born, English Jamaican heritage. And he has this amazing ability to pull apart objects or scenes and put them back together in an abstract way that is instantly recognizable, but in a way that's really emotive, like it, like you've been there before. Who else? Kay Donachi, she has a real sensuality to the way she paints, and in particular, she did these works that I read as being sort of like 1970s group of perhaps hippies, enjoying late night sun. The more I researched it, it's actually about the Manson group who committed the Manson murders, which, is always interesting, having your view on the work and then knowing more about it. Nick McPhail, American artist for his amazing underpainting in architectural works. Gosh, the list goes on. I'm probably going to forget many that I really care about saying. I would also say, things like Sorolla, the Spanish Master of Light, looking at Bonnard more and Vollard, looking at the group Les Nabis, and Impressionists, but also a lot of musicians for their lyrics, for their way of transporting you to a place and the emotive quality. Writers like Kirsty Gunn, she's New Zealand-born, Scottish-based writer who wrote Rain, which was then put into a movie made by Christine Jeffs, that she just has a way of saying stuff that you have never thought about before, but you instantly recognize within yourself. And she writes like she was a painter in a way, like there's no real plot to her story, but she pulls apart these moments in life that you instantly recognize yourself. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
That is a very mighty fine list. Well done. And your own question, why do you make the kind of work you make?
I make the work I make because of the act of painting. I don't even know if I can define the words that express that process. I love how it becomes a metaphor for everything else in life and teaches you about life. I love how through the act of painting it enriches your experience of life, how it slows your world down, and it's a gift. I feel so privileged to be a maker. Yeah,
beautiful. Okay, Tanya, I recommend everybody listening head to Allpress Studio in Drake Street, just behind Victoria Park Market. And that's November the 2nd, once again. It's going to be an incredible show. I can't wait to see it. And thank you so much, on so many levels. As I said, you've been such a massive supporter to me and such a good friend. And it's lovely to catch up, actually, after 2.5 years and have another chat and to see where you've come in that time. You're a real inspiration to me and I'm sure to lots of the listeners. So thank you so much for returning and being on the Creative Matters podcast.
Kia ora, Mandy. Thank you so much. And also just thank you so much to the service you do for the arts and how you make everyone feel seen and heard within their practice. You're a real absolute magic asset to us in Aotearoa. So thank you so much.